but they have a dream and they're gonna follow it regardless of the consequences. And you know what? Most of the time it goes horribly wrong. Guten Morgen, everyone. On this week's edition of Drink and Discuss, we're gonna discuss moving internationally. Welcome back to another episode of Drink and Discuss. This week's drink is a Tennessee Campfire, one of my own private concoctions and something kind of complicated to make. It's also complicated to hold. I've spilled it twice already. My fingers are sticky. Which reminds me, in last week's episode of Mixing It Up, or 2 weeks ago, some people were writing, why did I put a picture of my crotch in there? And actually what that is I was talking about having sticky fingers, and there is a Rolling Stones album called Sticky Fingers, and that is the cover to it. It's not my crotch. If you want to see how I made the drink, follow the link in the description below, or just look for my Mixing It Up playlist. Moving internationally, picking up, moving to a different country and starting a life there. It's a dream that I know a lot of people have, and I've done it. I don't want to say it makes me like an expert for this, but I've actually done it kind of like 4 times. I spent a semester abroad in college, so I moved my entire life to London and back to the United States. I was on an international tour, so we were in South America for almost 5 months. And I've moved from New York to Germany and back to New York and back to Germany. So I have learned a few things along the way, and I want to give you some of my tips today. Some of these will be useful for younger people planning to move abroad, and some of them will be useful for like people who are a little more advanced in their life stage or career stage. And I think a lot of this might just be interesting for anybody who's ever sort of considered it or played with the idea of moving to a different country. You know what? This is gonna annoy me how difficult this is to drink while I'm talking, so I'm gonna put it in a different glass. Oh, and I spilled it again! That's better. This will be easier. And I had to put some ice in it because since the time that I made it for the Mixing It Up video until I got everything put away and this camera set up, it got warm. And we know warm cocktails don't taste good. All right, if you are planning to move away from whatever country you live in now to a completely different country, there are 5 things, like I said, that I came up with that I think are really important to consider or to have in place. And the first thing, before you even think about anything else in the situation, you need to have a job. This is one of those things that, like, 25 years ago when I was like finishing college and, you know, planning my life, it just wasn't as obvious to me then as it is now. I mean, having a job is important anyways, just to pay your expenses and to have like a goal in life. However, if you're planning to move internationally, having a job in place before you move will solve a lot of problems for you. I think a lot of people who come up with the idea or toy around with the dream of moving to a different country get the idea because they've been there on vacation and they just really like it and they think,
I want to live here forever.
I can totally understand that. However, it don't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It does not work like that. Of course, if you want to, you can go on a 2-week vacation to Costa Rica and stay in a beautiful beach resort and have people cook for you and go to the beach every day and just chill. But you know what? That is not what real life will be there if you move there. You're gonna have to work to make some money to pay for your things. When you go on vacation, you've paid for everything in advance and everything is taken care of for you when you get there if you're staying in, you know, like a resort or a hotel. And so any place that you go and do that is gonna seem like better and more fun than normal life, because in normal life, you've got all your bills to pay and your house to clean and the meals to cook and all that stuff. So regardless of if it's Costa Rica or Holland or China, wherever you go, you're gonna have to have a job. Unless, of course, you're independently wealthy or have a job, you know, kind of like I do that you can basically do anywhere. Being independently wealthy or having like a mobile job that you can do anywhere will help you with some of the problems, but 2 main things you're gonna need to live, to actually stay for an extended period of time in a different country, are some kind of permission to stay there and some kind of permission to work there. And these are all included. I'm putting these under the job category. If you have a job before you move to the country, then whatever company it is that you're going to be working for, they're going to take care of your staying permission and your working permission, whatever that's called in the country where you're going to. You absolutely cannot just get in a plane, pack all your stuff in 2 suitcases, fly to England, and then start filling out applications at McDonald's. It does not work that way. You can't do it. Also, you definitely can't do it if you live in some other country and are planning to do that in the United States. It doesn't work that way. Forget it. If you are lucky enough to find a company that has some kind of job that you are specialized in that will sponsor you to move to the country and maybe pay some of your moving expenses, that is the best, and I want to say almost the only way to really do it right. If you do it the other way, like I said, just pack up your stuff and fly to some country, even if you are highly specialized for a job, that company, they won't be able to give it to you because you have no permission to stay in the country for an extended period of time, and you don't have permission to work in the country. And those are things that, at least here in Germany and in the United States, as far as I know, you need to have that in place before the whole process begins. So to wrap up this long point, get a job in the country before you move there. Apply online, write letters of intent, or work in a field like the entertainment business where there is just all kinds of work in other countries. For instance, like if you get a job with Cirque du Soleil, they have touring productions that are all over the world. Okay, the next thing that I think is really important that you have organized to the best of your ability before you move to the other country, after you've got a job or a ton of money in the bank, is know where you're gonna live. So if some company is sponsoring for you to move to this different country to begin working for them in that country, chances are they're going to be helping you find some place to live anyways by hiring a real estate agent for you, or somebody from the company will have like set up some open houses for you to look at. And the best thing is before like the first day that you're planning to actually leave your old life behind and move to the new country, it's really better if you plan a trip of several weeks before then to go to the new country, look at places to live, and preferably have it all signed, sealed, and delivered before you pack up your old life. My mouth is getting dry, I better take a drink. You make such a weird face when you drink, you know you've got to go. Try to do it without making that face. No, not gonna happen. I've already started drooling. This is another thing that 20-year-old Morgan wouldn't have considered. So for a young person now who has life plans of getting some college degree and then living and working in a different country, do whatever you can to have as much in place before your final day in whatever country you live in now. If you don't know where you're gonna live when you get there, then you're gonna be staying in a hotel or an Airbnb, which gets really expensive really fast. And chances are, if you are starting a new job, a new life in a different country, then you're gonna need every penny you can get in the beginning until your life stabilizes there. Okay, moving on to something else that younger Morgan wouldn't have thought of, but Morgan nowadays would definitely think of, and that is, what are you gonna do with the stuff that you leave behind? Chances are, you're not gonna literally pack up all your furniture and all your clothes and your entire household and ship it to a different country. And in fact, I wouldn't really recommend that either. If you're moving to a completely different country in a completely different apartment, you don't even know if all your stuff is gonna fit in that apartment, and chances are the appliances aren't gonna work there anyways unless you get a power converter for every outlet. So it's better just to plan to buy all new stuff when you get there. See job, financial stability, having a lot of money in the bank. But if you are not sure that you're gonna live in this new country forever, and if you don't have a job before you go, which is attached to a visa and a work permit, you probably won't, then it might make sense to leave some of your stuff back in the country that you are leaving. And here's the advice I want to give you. If you can, give it to a person that you know and don't put it into storage. You know, there's like these storage units where you can like rent, you know, like a garage, and then you put all your stuff in there and it's locked, and then, you know, nothing happens to it until you are back there and open up the door and decide what you want to do with it. But if you're gone for like 3 or 4 years before you come back, or if you literally never go back, then you're gonna lose all that stuff in storage. And not only are you gonna lose the opportunity to maybe sell it and get a little bit of, you know, revenue from it, but, you know, if it's good, useful stuff that somebody could have used, you could have, you know, maybe even helped out somebody in your family who's going to college, or, you know, maybe like your younger brother or sister got married and they're moving into their first house, and, you know, they could have taken your couch and your old television or something. And if you're living now, before you go to the new country, in a city where nobody in your family lives, like I was in New York City, then there's gonna be really nobody who's gonna be able to go and get it anyways. I put stuff in storage when I left New York for the last time because I thought maybe I would be back in a year. 21 years later, here I am. And to tell you the truth, I don't even know whatever happened to that stuff. I hadn't been back to New York City in so long, and the storage place that I was using closed because it was a really cheap, really shitty one anyways. And everything I put in that storage is now lost forever. If I was living in Minnesota before I left, then I would have asked like my mom and my brother and my sister if I could put some stuff in like their basement and some stuff in their attic and stuff, because like I said, when the moment comes when you realize, okay, I'm not going back, then I could have told them, listen, sell all that stuff, you keep the money, thanks for holding on to it for me. So to boil it down, if you've got a lot of valuable stuff that you're leaving behind, either just sell it and take the money right away, or give it to friends to take care of and don't put it in a storage unit. Language. This one might seem so obvious, but apparently it's not. I don't watch a lot of television, but there are some things that I kind of binge sometimes, and recently I started watching a show here in Germany called Auf and Davon, which follows people doing exactly what I'm talking about, that pack up their entire life and move to a new country. And most of the time, it's people who don't follow the tips that I'm giving you right here. Most of the time on this show, I would say these people are not, they haven't really thought it out. But they have a dream and they're gonna follow it regardless of the consequences. And you know what? Most of the time it goes horribly wrong. I watch this show and I scream at the television so often. And one thing that I just can't believe is how many people on this show move to a different country and they don't speak the language. These are people, just like I said, that were on vacation someplace like Thailand, and they think,
it was so beautiful there, let's just go move there.
But they don't have a job, they don't have a work permit, and they don't speak the language, and I'm like, how's that gonna work? And there's at least one couple who are like that in every episode of this show. Even if you're gonna be working for a company where the business language in the company is English, you still should learn the language, at least like basics of the language before you go someplace. Learn how to say like, where is, I am, I need, and then learn as many nouns as you can to help you in the beginning. Also, a really important phrase is learn how to say in the foreign language, I'm sorry, I don't speak this language, can you help me? I always think it's so arrogant when I hear people here in Germany approach the counter or somebody, you know, in a store or whatever, and they just automatically start speaking English. It's usually Americans. Sorry, it just is. Just assuming, okay, well, whoever this is, they're gonna understand me anyways. If you're gonna be moving to a different country and living there, please learn the language. Okay, final point, something that young Morgan would never think about and something that for old Morgan is not relevant, but because of this television show that I've been watching is very important, and that is, think about your kids. I don't have any kids. Marcus and I have been together for 14 years now, and we just haven't gotten pregnant. I don't know, I guess we're doing it wrong, but we're too old now anyway, so it's probably just never gonna happen. But Let's say you have this dream to move to a different country and start a new life there because you love the climate, because you love the beaches, because you love the atmosphere, because you love the people. I don't know. There's a lot of really great reasons to do it. Please think of the other people involved, the people who are maybe depending on you, like your children. That is another thing that shows up in this show that I watch so often, is people who pack up their whole life, they have very little savings, they don't speak the language, they don't have a job, and then they move to a country and bring their kids with them. And I'm like, okay, so you're not only setting up to ruin your own life, but what about your kids? And if they find a job quickly and somehow miraculously then do get a work permit and a visa and a green card or whatever, how are the kids gonna go to school? They don't speak the language. Of course, in most countries, there are international schools, so that is a good thing. However, these international schools are private schools that cost money, usually quite a bit of money. So if you don't have a job when you're moving there, and you don't have a lot of money saved up, how are your kids gonna go to school? And who's gonna take care of your kids? Like, if mom and dad do have jobs, have I mentioned how important that is? Remember, when you first move to a new country, it's gonna be a huge drama for your kids to get used to. And then, if somebody's taking care of them that doesn't speak their language, that doesn't sound like a good recipe for a calm, normal life for kids to me. So yeah, please, while you are playing out how this might work out for you, please, if you've got people depending on you, think about them too and all the consequences that might be relevant for their lives as well. And those are my 5 tips for moving internationally. And I've still got so much left to drink. ASMR. There's a face again. You know, on this series, I want to do videos that are just like more funny and interesting, but also videos that are helpful and maybe educational. And one thing that always helps me is your feedback. So please, in the comments below, write what you think about these kind of videos, what you thought about this video today, and please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to my channel. It all really helps me out and helps this channel grow, which makes my dreams come true. Don't you want to make my dreams come true? I'll see you back here next week for another episode of Drink and Discuss. Bye-bye.